go down and flush them out.
Welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast, a journey into the depths of men's hearts where courage meets vulnerability and wisdom embraces integrity. In a world that often measures a man by his outer achievements, this podcast dares to explore what truly defines a man of character. We unpack the challenges and triumphs that shape men's lives, bringing to light stories of resilience, compassion, and unshakable faith. We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast. We're your hosts for this evening conversation. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I am joined with a full panel of brothers. I'm going to start up top where we are, and I'm going to start with the new guy on the floor, and we're going to give him the floor after a while and let him introduce himself. But I want to introduce everybody to Bricks in the building. To my other side, we got the youngest gun of the panel, Mr. Tuami Gaddy, the son of Timothy, also known as the Available Man. Below us, we still have a full charge of gentlemen down there. Starting off with the oldest man on the panel, we got our brother, Mr. Roland Walker. Poor man's Dr. Phil, Mr. Shift Happens, and by his side, we have the Uncle Junior himself, Mr. Garfield Martin, a.k.a. the Consistency Coach. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday evening, rather?
Bless, man, bless.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here.
What's up?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to this one. This one is talking something near and dear to my heart.
Yes, sir.
Man, I'm good. Long week, but I'm excited to be with my brothers, man. Let's get it.
Listen, man, listen, if backstage was any indication of what tonight's going to be about, I think everybody is in for a treat. Before we get started, though, what I want to do is turn the mic over to that young man right there. Newest gentleman on the panel, Mr. Bricks in the building. So, Bricks, this is what I want you to do, man, because everybody in the chats, they're familiar with all these other jokers right here, right? But I want you to kind of introduce yourself, tell them about who you are, what you bring to the table, and things of that nature. I will leave it to you to introduce yourself, sir.
All right. Hey, what's up, man? This is your boy Bricks in the building. Hey, I am an Alabamian. I'm from Alabama. Born and raised, will be 44 years of age this coming in June 22nd. Hey, what I bring to the table, I bring nothing but the Almighty. For I know that He has carried me through, even in my pain and my problems and my proclivity. I do nothing but bring but the gospel. So I'm a little unorthodox, but hey, I'm gonna give it to you just like you give it to me. I believe in breaking down things because there's so many people who can say big things, big letter for $1,500,000 words, but they go over people's head. And so God has given me a gift, maybe a talent to be able to just break down what I'm saying, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And hey, that's enough of me right now. Let's get into this thing. I love y'all, man. Let's go.
I love it, man. I appreciate that. And again, good to have you on the show, man. This has been a long time coming. And like Roland said, man, I'm just happy to be here. I'm sorry, I think it was Twami. I'm happy to be here and share a conversation with my brothers as we always do every week. But make no mistake about it, I also enjoy the fact that we get to share a conversation with the most livest chat on social media. So, of course, over here, we like to call everybody by name because we appreciate your presence, because you could be anyplace else, but you're here with us and we want to make sure that we acknowledge you. So that being said, Michelle Ray, Nick D, Crystal Everett, good to see you. N. Ellis, welcome to the show. Let's see who else. That's y'all. Lisa Keys, good to see you. Crystal Everett, Adrian Walter, good to see you. Miss Verlene McCoy, aka Queen V, me, myself, and I. The journey continues. Welcome to the conversation. Good to see you. And listen, anybody else out there, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, YouTube, or even on X, it doesn't really matter, or LinkedIn as well. It doesn't really matter where you are. Again, just let us know that you're there so that we can appreciate you and give you your flowers now. So that being said, good to see you, Miss Uncle Junior. Welcome to the show. So that being, y'all see his face light up just now when I said that? Y'all see, look at little kid. Y'all teeth, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, we're gonna get into this conversation because I think it's important. And so without further ado, let's get this party started. Have you ever wondered why it's so challenging to have or even maintain confidence in today's world? Think about it. Every time you turn around, there is something new to concern yourselves with: politics, finances, relationships, etc. If any of this resonates with you, I submit to you that you don't have a confidence concern, you have an identity concern. And in this empowering conversation, we'll unpack the underlying causes of low self-esteem and explore proven strategies to transform your self-image. Together, we'll uncover practical insights and timeless principles that reveal your true potential and strength. From understanding the root causes of self-doubt to building confidence through practical teachings, positive self-talk, and supportive communities. Join us as we discover the keys to realizing that you are strong, capable, and destined for greatness. Now, gentlemen, you just heard me say in this little brief introduction that when it comes down to confidence, it's not really an issue with confidence. It's more so concerning something about your identity. Now, as we move forward, I want everybody out there in the land to understand that on this platform, the Empowering Perspective platforms, everybody's opinion is their opinion, because we believe that everybody is a subject matter expert of their own perspective. So moving into this conversation, I want to kind of unpack it first. So how would you describe self-image, and why is understanding it so profound in leading a progressively fulfilling life? Anybody can go first.
All right. I'll take a stab at it. The newcomer on the block. Let's play. It's like, to me, it's like a mirror in your mind reflecting how you see yourself. Self-image, your looks, your talents, your worth. And so what I believe that is important, because if you're seeing that cracked mirror, you're gonna feel broken. But when you start to see yourself in the heavenly light, and that's what I'm bringing tonight, it's almost like when Mama used to say, "Oh, child," you're starting to believe that you can move mountains. And so you got to understand the self-image means you're giving yourself permission to be great. So let's not flip the script, because I do know, and you do know as well, that Proverbs 27:23-7 says this: "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." So I tell my brothers and sisters, even in the comments tonight, that whatever you think of yourself, that's what you become. So I think of myself as beautiful, as nice, as looking good. I don't care if I don't have the body that all muscles and ripped up. I love myself enough to say, guess what? I'm more than enough. And so, hey, that's what I think self-image is. My definition of it.
Correct.
All right, I'll go. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I love Bricks jumped out there. Then he first he used proclivity, and then he jumped out there with that. So I love it because he put the onus on self, the onus on the person. The individual has to know who he is inside and out, who he or she is, because you can lie to yourself all day. You can lie to other people. You can lie to your mama. You can lie to your pastor. You can lie to your daddy. But when you look in the mirror, when you go home, you see all of your flaws, and you have to be okay with that. You have to say, okay, I may not have a six pack, I may not be ripped up and everything, but I'm good with me. So my confidence ain't in just my ability, it's in the totality of who I am, not just in what somebody else says I'm good at, but I realize what I bring to the table and where I'm lacking, so I can add value in whatever room I enter.
I like it. What you got on?
Self-image to me is how someone sees themselves, right? When they look in the mirror or when they reflect on who they are as a person, I believe that's what that picture is I think that's what self-image is. And I think it can be broken down to a bunch of different categories too. It's not just, some of it is physical. I think some of it is mental. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about yourself when it comes to doing this, or when it comes to doing that? So I think it's, on a umbrella, on a big level, it's the perception that you have of yourself and who you are as a person. And I think the reason why it's important to understand it and why it's profound in leading a progressively fulfilling life is because if you have the wrong self-image of yourself, it can prevent you from doing certain things. If you have the correct image or perception of yourself, it can lead to a progressively fulfilling life. So it is key to understanding who you are as a person, or understanding your self-image, because if you don't understand that person, like, you can't do anything else. A lot of people, I don't want to talk about people too much, but we are talking about people. And some of the reasons why people don't get further in life, and it is directly tied to the self-image that they have of themselves. I'm not good at speaking, right? So I'm never going to be as good as Eric Thomas. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know it kind of went back to some other conversation we had, but that self-image piece right there is very important. And if your self-image is not good and you don't understand it, then it's very hard to progressively move in a positively or fulfilling life.
For me, I look at self-image as probably one of the most delicate traits in us as human beings, because you can walk a fine line between having those self-doubts and thinking too highly of yourself than you are. And so I think we have to be mindful to set our minds to see ourselves, for me, and this is me, how I view it, to see ourselves in the path of where we're going, right? But without exuding a negative thought about ourselves, or an overly boastful concept of ourselves, because I can see myself as a leader, right? A job, I feel like I'm a leader. In my home, I can feel like I see myself as a leader. In my community, I see myself as a leader. But because I see myself as a leader, doesn't mean I have to see myself as a ruler over people. And so that's where we draw that line of thinking too highly of myself. Or I can draw that line as, I wish to be a leader, but I don't see myself as a leader. Start going into last week's conversation, because I don't see myself here. I don't see myself doing this. But if that's where I'm going, if that's where I'm heading, I have to see myself as to where I'm going, so that not only I can walk in it when I get there, but I can prepare myself for where I'm going journey. So that's how I view self-image.
So I love where you guys started off with, and I'm love seeing the comments in the chat. By all means, keep them coming, because your descriptions of self-image is very accurate. Now, I also want to do a correlation between self-image and confidence, because if we do not do that, we'll miss the mark as it pertains to how I portray who I am. So how do we tie them together? Like, given our background, I'm just saying our collectively, because you esteemed gentlemen, you guys have arrived, right? But let's just go back, 30, 40 years ago. Brick, if we go back 40 years for you, bro, you be coming out the womb. But if let's just go back to when you about 5, 6, 7 years old, right? Did you have that image of yourself that you have right now? Did you have the confidence that you portraying right now? And if so, if not, I believe it's not. I could be wrong, but if not, like, what was that transition for you? Like, how did you develop that self-image? Like, when did you come to the point? And I don't necessarily want a year, or I was on the back of a Chevy, and I don't necessarily want that. Just like, what was that transition point for you? Because I think it's important for people to understand, especially for younger people, right? If you don't have the accurate self-image, then the confidence that you portray in the environment, in the world, is going to be lackluster. So what is that connection, and how did you come to that way of understanding?
Well, it was 1993, and I was in the back of a Chevy.
I knew he was
but
gonna
no,
do it. I knew it.
but
I
no,
knew it.
I would tell you this: when I grew up, first of all, I kind of grew up kind of shy, and I was very small. I was a lot smaller than a lot of kids, and that kind of caused me to not have confidence in anything, any ability. The only thing I thought that I was good at was football. I started playing football when I was like 7 years old. But overall, as a person, as a young man, I was scared of people. I would run from guys, different things like that. The transition for me started happening around when I joined the military, right? Going through basic training, going through AIT, going through hard things, overcoming obstacles, pugil training, just different things like that. Looking at my left and right, and seeing how I stacked up against, other privates and stuff like that in the military, and then going on in the military, progressing, making rank, blah, blah, blah. So I think initially I didn't start off like that, but I would say there was a transition around beginning of the military time. There was another transition, when I started making probably around E7 time. Then there was another transition in my early 40s when I started going through and kind of finding out my purpose and stuff like that. So for me, it wasn't just one transition. It was at least three transitions that happened, or three transitions or three evolutions in my life, from when I was this scared little unconfident kid growing up in Roanoke, Virginia. So that was kind of how my transition happened.
I like it.
Um, I, I don't want mine to sound too churchy, but hey, it is what it is. To be honest with you, growing up, as far back as I can remember, I've always had a poor image of myself, high hopes, but I never. And it wasn't because I was too small. I wasn't that small. I was always naturally stronger than most kids my age. I could run, I could play sports, I could do all of that stuff, but I just always saw myself uh just just in a low sense of being. And even joining, getting out of New York, going to the military, doing some things, whatever, it's still, I was happy for the things that did happen, but I still never saw myself better than just being another uh ninja from the hood. You know what I mean? Like, I, but when it changed my image, I was, to me, I would say my true image of myself changed when my image of the Most High changed. Um, Instead of looking at him as simply as something to attain, or something that just lords over me just because he is, and he does, because I surrender unto him. But when I started seeing him as someone great who loved me, and I think when my image started to be built around who I know the Father sees me as and what he sees me as, my image of myself started to change, and my mindset started to change. The way I carry myself started to change. The way I talk about myself changed. You can say whatever you want to say about me, but I know who I am because I know who he declared that we are. And that's it for me.
I think for me, when I was younger, I was good in sports. I was good scholastically. So I focused on those things. But it wasn't until, I was in school and I had to do certain things like speak in front of the class or something that I had issues. And I had a teacher push me because he said it's cool to be confident in what you know how to do, but you can't show any confidence in those things that you don't know. So your confidence is fake. And he pushed me in those things, and I had to take speech therapy and so forth and so on, so that I can be not only confident, but understand that I was holding myself back because I was afraid to go out and do the things that I didn't feel so confident in, that I couldn't necessarily do without thinking about it. So at a young age, when I learned that I had to master the things that I wasn't good at, and master doesn't mean that I'm mastering it to the ability of someone else. It means that I'm getting over the fear of not doing it. It's like Unc said that he'll never be as good as Eric Thomas. To me, you can't have that mindset because Eric Thomas is Eric Thomas. You can't put yourself in that category. You got to say, I got to be the best me. And that's how I look at things like that. Like whether I'm a speaker, whether I'm doing anything that it is to do, I can't compare myself to anybody but me on yesterday. So I'm always fighting that person. And that's where the confidence comes from, because I'm fighting to be a better person than I was on yesterday, than I was 2 minutes ago, so that I can continue to make myself proud. And if that helps somebody else in doing that, hey, so be it. That's a great thing.
Bricks, what you got? You muted, bro.
I think it was a different level, like from from what grade? I say what 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and probably even 9 when dad passed away. I think my life shifted because I didn't understand at this particular time of my life at 9. I didn't understand when people say you got to stay in a child place, and I'm sitting here telling them I wish I don't know if I could cuss that. I won't, because it's not my platform to do that tonight. But who are you talking to? Because you don't live in my household. And then so I had to go through that teenage stage of, never being scared to get in front of a crowd, never, but wanted to be good at what I do at all times. So if I felt like I wasn't good enough when I got ready to do it, I didn't want to do it because I wanted to be the best at everything that I do. And out of all of that came hurt, heartache and pain. But I've learned, and so going through high school, middle school, going through high school, being blessed to go to college, and then also accepting a calling in the ministry. That's when I think, just like Son of Timothy, that's when the shift, not to try to sound so churchy, but I think that's when the shift started to happen as I was transitioning from one scholarship to the other, which was college, and straight to accepting my call in the ministry. And so that's when I started to see that, hey, I'm not doing anything different, because at this particular time, I'm not going against nobody. It's me versus me, and how I see how I see things about myself. And so, that's pretty much it.
I like listening to these different perspectives because, as everybody can hear, and it's different for every man on this panel. We have different backgrounds, we have different upbringings. Some of us were raised in a 2-parent home, some of us were not raised in a 2-parent home. And so those things ideally creates the foundational understanding of what your identity is. I talk about this quite frequently, that your identity leads to the concept of who you are. And through that concept, that allows the esteem of who you are to grow. And then from that esteem, that's how you socialize with other people. So when you do not have an accurate identity of yourself, and I can go back as far as, who you thought you were based upon the information that you was given in school, based upon what you've seen in your environment, based upon how friends interacted with you. You guys understand that from the conversations that we've had over the past couple of weeks. Like, those things can either create some doubt in certain areas of your life, or it can create some confidence in other areas of your life. So when you start looking at life in its totality, it's not a flat idea, it's not a flat concept. In some areas, you are very confident, and in some areas, you are very skittish. You're very concerned. You're wondering what people are seeing when they see you. And unfortunately, the concept behind that is that whatever you think people see, then you start making micro adjustments along the way. For me, I kind of got to agree with the whole Uncle Junior piece. Well, before Uncle Junior, for me, it was a little bit like football. When I started playing football, that's when our concept of who I am started turning around. Because again, as you all know, growing up in our time frame, dark skin was not in, right, until the great prophet Wesley Snipes came along. When Wesley Snipes came along, he kind of, created the path for all of us. So yes, dark skin is here, baby. No, but seriously, it wasn't cool to be dark skinned back then. I'm just being honest. And so football became that confidence transition for me, because playing football and competing with my teammates and things of that nature, win, lose, or draw, we all got each other. We're supporting one another, regardless of whether or not you're not doing your best or being your best. We're pulling together for each other. That started to boost my confidence. So I think from there, doing that, then going into the military, right, doing the whole basic training thing. Basic training is supposed to tear down the individuals and then build you as a team. So for those of you who don't know what a pugil stick is, it's a big old Q-tip that you swing and hit people with, right? That's just pretty much it. And so doing those things built confidence, but then I created some relationships that will last for a lifetime. And then going from there, and for me, I kind of went back home because I was in the National Guard. And so these things looked at, like Uncle Junior said, these different gateways of confidence building and confidence development. I love what me, myself, and The Journey Continues stated, because she's absolutely right. Like, your image is developed at one stage, and when you start looking at the stages of human development, your image is created at one stage or given to you at one stage, and then your confidence in that is supposed to happen at a later point in stage. This is why I always talk about the importance of parenting, because parents are supposed to help instill in that child who they really are, not just who they are, but who the Most High is as well. So when you start doing those things, now it transitions from not just knowing who you are, but knowing who you are according to who he is, and then transition forward and kind of help to have a better understanding of the necessity that you need, or his necessity in your life. Any other thoughts before we move forward?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of that last comment. That's funny. As working in the elementary school for the last 7 years, I see that. Like, right, what's today? Friday? Shoot,
Yep.
Wednesday. So yesterday was the last day of school, so they had like talent show, right? So they had one the night before for the parents, and then yesterday, last day of school, had a talent show for the whole school. And excuse me, and you can see kids who have confidence and kids who don't. Like, something as simple as when all of them have to get up there to fifth grade graduation, excuse me, and they have to sing whatever fifth grade song they in, they have to sing. And I'm up there and I'm watching all of the kids, and I'm looking at kids, and I'm like, I see a kid right in the front, and he just got his head down, like he really don't want to sing or anything. I'm like, man, I remember that was me. Like, I didn't want to do none of that stuff. I didn't want to be in music. I didn't want to be in no plays. I didn't want to be in no groups where we had to sing. I didn't want to do none of that stuff. But how we was talking about the different age groups and stuff like that, and that comment was talking about, you can really see the differences in kids very early on when it comes to who has confidence and who don't. It is very noticeable.
Absolutely. And this is why I stress both parents, because you got to realize that child needs both parents to have a clear identity of themselves. So again, I don't want to. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just real quick, I just want to say that too. I'm also an educator as well, and I coach high school football and baseball. And it's funny that you say that, because when you have a parent, a mother and a dad in the household, and they're supportive to their child, that child is very disciplined. I mean, you even though we got to holler and fuss sometimes, but they're more disciplined. They try they try to go the extra mile to do the extra stuff. But when you have that one and they don't support, they don't come in, it's hard, man. It's almost like we got to grab, hey, man, for real. You know, either you can get off the field or you can go home and do something, but you're not gonna come here disrespecting. And I think you're absolutely right. You see a difference from jump when it comes to that.
Man, that's so good. And I greatly appreciate that, because these experiences, so this is what we all like to talk about. Like the people who are instrumental in a child's life, not just parents, but like coaches and counselors and teachers, very instrumental in helping that child to have a good understanding of who they are. Some children coming from broken homes, right? Sometimes the only positive information that you receive come from outside of your own home. So you need people like Garfield, you need people like Bricks, you need people like Son of Timothy and Poor Man's Dr. Phil to speak positivity in your child sometimes outside of you, because the downside to it is that some of the worst information your child may receive is because of the environment that they find themselves in as well. And the only positive information they get is at home. So you build them up and they go outside and the environment tears them down. So it works both ways. So I greatly love that. Miss McCoy, I want you to, I'm trying to understand your question. You guys know I would derail the whole conversation just to make sure that I answer questions. But that question to me is a little, I want to make sure I got it. So if you can kind of reframe that question, what can one do to oneself limit their self-image, even though you are confident about self? I want to make sure that we answer it accurately. So if you don't mind, if you can kind of reframe that, I want to make sure that we got that wholeheartedly. Okay. Moving on with the first question, and if me, myself, and I answer that question, by all means, that'll be sufficient as well. So moving on, the first point I want to talk about is the root causes of low self-image. And the first question here is, how can past experiences and childhood upbringing contribute to the development of a low self-image? And what are some ways to address and heal from those influences?
I am going to start this one off, if y'all don't mind, because I am going to speak from experience, right? It's not about me, but I'm just going to use my situation to answer the question. Because growing up, 6 kids total. And so there wasn't hand-me-downs for me, but a lot of our clothes, good, bad, or indifferent, we got from the Goodwill. And then with being 6 kids, 5 in the house, things had to get stretched out. You know what I'm saying? You can't get new clothes all the time, can't get new shoes, stuff like that. Also, can't get haircuts all the time. So your hair look jacked up. Or you end up going to Mr. So-and-so or Minister so-and-so, cutting your hair and letting it get jacked up. Also, I was small. So all of these things, not having clothes now, here's one thing I will say. Like my mom always said, she may be in the chat tonight, I don't know. But she said, and I remember, we were always clean. You know what I mean? And we didn't have holes and stuff in our clothes. So they may have been hand-me-downs, but at the end of the day, we had everything that we needed, So I want to say that as well. And then also, I am speaking, remember, when I'm talking about this is from a child's mindset, not my 48-year-old mindset I have right now. This is as a child. So as a child, this is how I thought. I was like, man, I'm smaller than everybody else. Can't never gotten no haircut. You know what I mean? The clothes that I wear are old. They ain't new. They're not trending, right? So I'm comparing myself to the top kids, right? The big kids who got the girlfriends, you know what I mean? Them dudes, the dudes that got their haircut every single week. Their parents buy them all the new stuff, all the new clothes, all the new shoes, you know what I mean? So that's who I'm comparing to myself, you know what I mean? So that early on in life contribute to my early, my low self-image, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't measure up in the ways that I wanted to. I wanted to have haircuts all the time. I wanted to have the new clothes. I wanted to have the girls, and and I wanted to be taller, So that's how it started for me. But I think, what are some ways to address it? I think when you're young like that, people want to throw um therapy out there and stuff like this. But I think when you're young, sometimes you have to kind of grow out of things. Sometimes life happens, experience happens, and stuff like this. I know as an adult, if we fast forward this a little bit to as an adult, then I think you have to make sure that you address it, get some therapy, talk to somebody who can help you and support you, and move on and get past some of those things that are causing a low self-image in your life. Man, that was long.
I like it though. You want to jump on that first before everybody else go?
Uncle D, as you reflect on your childhood, do you now have a greater appreciation for the space? Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
I'll jump on that. How can past experience and childhood upbringing contribute to the development of low self-esteem? I think that when parents don't allow the children to try and fail, and they give them that out, like they allow them to quit, that allows them to set a standard of quitting throughout their life until they figure it out. So if they playing sports, if you said you want to do it on day 1, I don't care if it's tough on day 10, you're going to finish it out. But nowadays, I see a lot of children that have parents that take them out, say, oh, they don't want to do it. I don't care if you don't want to do it. You wanted to do it then because your friends were doing it, or you wanted to do it for some reason. So you going to see things through. And when you have a parent that push their children to see things through, it develops a mindset. You also can have that parent where they see their child get hurt, and now, oh, my baby, let me kiss your boo-boo and all that other stuff. That's where the two-parent dynamic helps out, because the father's role is get up, boy, shake it off, dust it off. While the mother, you can do all that hugging stuff, but at some point, you got to allow that person to go through that pain so that they can realize that, okay, I went through this pain and I accomplished something even better than if I would have stayed there on the ground. So that develops your self-image throughout your life, because if you are taught that failing is okay in a sense that you're okay with it, it's going to be okay with it when you're in your marriage, when you're doing things with your children, versus I failed and it's okay that I failed, but how do I get better and so that I can help accomplish something better so I won't fail the next time?
Yeah, I like that. What you said. That is, I appreciate you for even saying that, and it hit me as you were talking. We're getting ready for summer workouts, and we're doing 25s. And I don't know if y'all ever play college football or just play high school football, but 25s is no joke. You start at 25 and you do jumping jacks, you do push-ups, you do mountain climbers, you do burpees, and that's just one. We at 25. We going from 25 all the way to 1. First day, people they throwing up, they doing everything, they crying, Coach Brick, all this stuff, right? The next day, people are gone. And we told them, we said, hey guys, if you stay in the race, and I had to do the scripture, they said, Brick, give us one. I said, well, the race is not given to the swift or the strong, but the one who can endure to that. I said, listen, I know y'all don't understand. I said, but let me break this down. If you stay strong, I promise you, y'all gonna be in the best shape of your life. When we get down to the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, I bet you fourth quarter, you're gonna still feel like you was in first quarter, because it's designed to get you right. They stayed in the race. They stayed there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today was a makeup day. The kids came in, they did it. They didn't cry about it. They didn't get mad about it. They did 25s all the way to 1. And they were so excited. You'll think we won the championship. On the flip side of that, I want to say this real quick, and I'm gonna get out the way. We have one young freshman that could be really good, but nobody sowed a seed into him early. And he's been playing football all his life. He's been going through all the camps and do all these things. And his daddy came to me and said, Coach Brick, what can we do? I didn't know. I said, Dad, I'm daddy, I'm coach, I'm counselor. I didn't know all this came with. I said, hold up, I need a lot of checks because y'all got me doing a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? So, but he said, what can I do? And I looked at him and I said, as a dad who wants his son to do, and his son says, I don't even want to play. And now I'm in a bilingual because I'm looking at dad with tears in his eyes, and I'm looking at the son who says, I don't want to come out. What do I do as a coach? Because of my loving heart, I had to go tell him, I said, hey man, we ain't quitting. You started this and we're going to finish this. So it's almost like he allowed me, he gave me the mantle to become a dad to somebody that's not mine. And I had to go ahead and tell him, hey man, we ain't quitting. We don't believe in quitting. You started, we're gonna finish it. And so daddy backed me up, mama backed me up, and then guess what? He's still out there. Even though I know, I can tell he sense it. He don't want to be there, but eventually it'll come around. It'll come around.
That's good. I like that.
Man, it's a good one. You know, growing up in the 90s, I used to hear a lot of things from a lot of young parents, right? Not to jump on my brothers, but you know, a lot of the young parents when I was growing up in the 90s were about y'all age, and at the time y'all were in the 90s, right? And it went a little deeper than a lot of, because a lot of the sports that we played were always free, you know, and mostly basketball tournaments unless you played in school. You know, we didn't play football unless you paid for it. And where I grew up, wasn't too many people paying to send their kids to football. So you play football when you got to high school. So a lot of those stories were, you know, the support and everything wasn't really the big deal, but it was, saw a lot of people lose confidence because the way that a lot of kids were spoken to, right? By parents, you know, and this, I'm just talking about the 90s, being young parents, or even even parents that would getting high, getting drunk throughout the day. And it seemed like as kids then, we were always told by the adults what we couldn't do. You know, instead, it wasn't too many people telling us what we could do. You know, and then you tie that to just, you know, anybody who grew up poor in the hood, you already know, you know, on top of, you know, I never really look at getting too much. Everybody got joned on. You know, you move in New York without somebody jokes. But it was, for me, the thing that always rings back in my mind is hearing the way that adults spoke to kids, that parents spoke to their own kids. You know, mothers calling their daughters the B word, and as we grow up, you living with these things written in your mind that was spoken to you by the ones who were supposed to give you self-confidence, the ones that were supposed to tell you you were beautiful, the ones that were supposed to tell you how wonderful you were. So I see a lot of that, at least in my age range, in my generation, that a lot of people fight with when it comes to their self-image and their self-limited to what you can't do. And so where a lot of us move not based upon what we want or what opportunities, but off of what we think we can't accomplish. And we go after things that seem more attainable because we can't do this or we can't do that. And so for me, I think is one, your mindset really has to change. And it's easy to say that, right? But the how, you know, I love that that the Father has put people around me who are positive, who speak positivity, you know, which has taught me how to speak more positive, which creates a more positive mindset. And a lot of these negative thoughts and negative images really lose space. They can creep up every now and then, but to be honest with you, they lose space when you continue to flood your mind with positivity, when you continue to speak positivity, when you shape the things that you listen to, that you talk to, that you listen to, that you watch, that you read, when they're shaped around positivity, I believe that it removes the space for those negative thoughts from the past to really live. They might creep in and they might try to hit you every now and then, but we're not living in that space no more. We're living here, and more things become attainable. More opportunities you want to go after, and you don't shy away from, because you don't look at things from what you can't do, but you understand that you can do whatever it is that you're seeking out to achieve, but you still got to have a plan and all that good stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that's my take.
Yeah. So for this question, and I'm gonna try to keep it short here. Past experiences, like again, it's what your parents taught you, what you've heard at home, like the most dominant mindset that you heard in the home. If you speak from a position of lack, then your child will always view things through the lens of lack. If you speak from a position of struggle, your child will look at life through the lens of struggle. If you speak from a perspective of this group of people always have better than we do, then that's how you're going to grow up seeing those groups of people. When you start understanding that if, you start talking as though you're the victim, then your child is going to ingest victimhood, and then that becomes the lens that they move through. So I love these perspectives. Like you heard a great example from a coach. I think that's a great example of what progression looks like, what healing looks like, having conversations with people who have that positive mindset, like you just heard. Like, I think those things are definitely ways of getting to the transition point. I think parents, like, let's be completely transparent. Like I can't, and gentlemen, you guys can tell me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong, but when I was having kids, there was no instruction manual. I had no idea what I was doing. So I think at the end of the day, parents can actually go seek that counseling that Garfield was talking about. Like, parents need to get some counseling, some feedback, some understanding of what the best techniques out there to raise children. And I think a lot of times what we do is we try to do it within a vacuum, looking at our past experiences, thinking our past experiences was good enough. And, I'll like, man, listen, here's the reality of the truth. You are training your child, and your child is training you at the same time. And if you don't believe that, ask anybody who has, like, their kids are grown and don't ask them where they got the kids. Ask them after the kids leave the house. They'll tell you, say, man, my child taught me so much when I was a parent, it wasn't even funny. So I think that's the key. If you pour good information into you, then chances are you're going to pour good information into that child. And then that child will get out of the stage of comparing themselves to anybody else, which is one of the biggest issues that children have. Children get caught in the comparison trap. They're looking at other people. They're becoming jealous of what they got going on. Like, speaking for self now, seeing this child show up with both parents, and I didn't get a chance to show up, but one of my parents, and she was tired because she had to work. My father, he was off in another country because he done moved on with his life. And so then there's a hint of jealousy that sets in. I'm seeing him with both of his parents. I don't have both of my parents. I got friends who have both parents. They grew up in a double, two-story house, stuff of that nature. They got the fresh kicks, the fresh gear, like you guys started talking about. I ain't had none of that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, man, so that becomes a lens that you start living your life through. And so I know once we get older, we try to expedite the child to our point of awareness, but don't ever forget where you used to be when you was a child, and try to have a better understanding of what it looks like for them as well. And then maybe that'll help adjust some of the things that we encounter when we start teaching them. So that said, thank you for restating this question. Can self-doubt limit your ability to be successful and confident? Is it because you limit yourself or because of others? So I think that's two parts, right? Can self-doubt limit your ability from being successful and confident, or is it because you limit yourself or because of others?
The first part of this, I believe, is yes. Can self-doubt limit your ability to be successful and confident? Absolutely. Now, whether it is because you limit yourself or because of others. I think it could be both. I think that if you are allowing other people to cause this lack of confidence, then I think that that's where you or that person may need to go and get some support for that, right? Because when you get to a certain level in life, you good, bad, or you really don't care what people say. You know what I mean? You don't really care about this stuff no more. You know what I mean? You're not allowed, and I don't say that to kind of belittle that, but just to say that you care more about success versus what other people think about you. Like I can't be a successful speaker if I'm worried about Roland laughing at me because I said this versus that. You know what I mean? Or something else. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to get to a point to where. But let me back up or get rid of that. But what I'm saying is just that yes, it can limit yourself, and it can be because you limit yourself, and it can be because you allow other people to speak those things into you, and then you attach yourself to those things.
Yeah, I think I want to take a shot at this if you don't mind, and mine said I'll try to be nice. But toxic relationships, and my voice is gonna get high. Hanging around folks who treat you like you're less than can mess you up big time. I think we have to get to a point in life that we have to say enough is enough. This season, I'm not going to allow you to treat me this way no more. I'm done with that. You did it last season. You did it last week. You did it last night. But this time, I'm done with that. And I think because like the gentleman already just said before me, it can be a point. Yes, that's the answer to the first part is yes. People will mess you up. And so you have to find something deep down in you to say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm done with that. You're not going to treat me less than, because guess what? I know for a point when you get to the point in life when you know who you are and who you are. The Bible says, and I have to do this. This is me. I got to go to the text. The text says in Genesis, it says, everything that I made good. So how do you feel like you're less than when God said everything I made was good? And so you got to get to the point of your life. You got to pick up your cross. You got to pick up your head. You got to pick your chest out and say, you know what? Enough is enough. I am more than enough. And you're not going to make me feel no kind of way. And I'm done speaking.
Gentlemen, anything else? No?
Yeah, I like where Brick went, because I think that you have to learn not to allow your flaws to be weaponized against you. Because people will take, and that's like me, I know, because I'm a person, if I see something, I joke. So when I see something that may be considered a flaw, I twist it so I can dig, I can poke. And that's what people do to individuals to belittle them or to make themselves seem higher than them. And we grow up with that mentality. I know when I was younger and my grandmother, like, she got food stamps, and it was like, go to the store and break this food stamp. There was embarrassment on me because I went there and somebody else was, oh, you got them stamps. And remember, we had the paper stamps. You got them stamps and this, that, and other. We had to carry bags of bottles to the store. And there was an embarrassment there. But then when you realize, like, man, this is money this spends just like that spends. It's like you have to get over that so you don't allow other people to weaponize what you may consider a flaw. And you take that thing and say, okay, it's cool. But I had to change my mind, not about how people saw me, but how I saw me, because I would take what they saw and I would impute it on me. So now when I don't even allow people to say, like, I don't say you make me sick, because to me, that's saying that someone else has control over me. So I hate that jargon. I hate when people say it, because I don't want somebody else to have that much control over me to where they control my emotions. They control whether I'm up or down. They control whether I think I have ability or not, or think I'm greater or not. I have to think within myself that I'm good enough. And, whether I am to you, don't matter. It matters what I think here.
Absolutely. I love it. Can negative self-doubt limit your success? Absolutely. It sometimes can even prevent you from even trying. So I just kind of want to throw that into the pot of what everybody's talking about because I agree with them 100%. Listen, wherever you are, regardless of what platform you're on, make sure that you hit the like button and share it with somebody else as well. Because again, as you're seeing, we're diving deep into this conversation. Continue to put your comments out there, and we'll bring them up. And as you guys know, we love questions, so please don't hesitate to put questions in the chat. Okay, next question: how can internalized negative beliefs and self-criticism be identified and transformed into positive, empowering thoughts?
I think I'll take a stab at it real quick. I think those little nasty little voices in our heads telling us that we ain't good enough. First, you got to identify them and then pay attention to that inner dialogue. If you're constantly putting yourself down or doubting your worth, that is a red flag right there. Done speaking.
To be brief with this one, you can. I believe most of us. Let me say this. I believe I know when I'm using internal negative thoughts or beliefs. Right when I'm getting ready to do something, I can hear these negative thoughts rising up. But having them transformed into positive, empowering thoughts for me is how I measure where my life needs to go or what I need to do next. It can't be measured off of, well, Roland got this, so I need to get this so that me and him can have the same thing. No, I got what I need. And if I'm able to get that, all praises. But the measuring stick has to be based upon where you are. When we used to do church, right? We used to say all the time, when I look back from where he brought me from, right? We used to say that all the time. But the reality is, if you knew where I came from, the measuring stick to measure from there to here might be greater than Roland's measuring stick. I don't know where he started from. He might have more, but he might not have to come from as far as I had to go from. Or so my measuring stick can't be based upon somebody else. It has to be based upon my journey and my appreciation to the Father for that journey.
I think that sometimes we have when you notice that you have a feeling towards someone that does something negative that you used to do, you look at them, you have a like, look at, instead of looking them with the empathetic feeling or whatever, without understanding. I think that's when you know that, hey, something is wrong with this picture, because I've been there, I've done that, I got the t-shirt, I spent time in jail, I've spent time hugging that porcelain god, praying, saying I ain't gonna do it no more. But then you have your nose up because you see somebody else in that vein. Then it's like, hold up, it's some problems with that, because you internalize that as a negative, and now you put that on somebody else as that negative, instead of this being a teaching moment, this being something that they can learn from, because it had to be something that you can learn from, because there were times where you thought, man, I ain't gonna make it to the next paycheck, I ain't gonna make it in this marriage, I'm not gonna make it in this relationship, or whatever it is, but you got through it. And those beliefs and those criticisms be identified and transformed. It has to be transformed because you went through it, saw the negatives that were in it, and then took that negative and said, okay, but I didn't die. So now I'm seeing positive, but I don't do that no more. Now I'm living like this. Now I'm trying to be better. So when you take all those negatives and say, what's the flip side of this? Then you can be better, not just for you, but for anybody around
I'll start off by saying self-reflection is a way to identify some of these. Another way is when someone else tells you, right? Sometimes we can get in our own way. And I'm not saying that we have to listen to every time that someone criticizes or saying that, hey, we need to change or we need to maybe, about anything, right? But sometimes other people can identify things in us that we maybe can't see in ourselves. So I think just right off the rip, how can some of these negative belief and self-criticisms be identified? I think they can be identified through self-reflection and often sometimes when other people say something or other people see something in us that we may not see about ourselves. Now moving on to the second part of this, and identified and transform into something positive. I wrote down a couple of things. One is growing or learning about yourself, or just growing and learning to be a better person. So when you spend time in working on self, that will help transform some of those other things or those mindsets or different thoughts that you may have about certain things. You can turn some negatives into positive. And another thing is to challenge some of those negative try to challenge some of those negative beliefs that you may have. You know what I'm saying? So if there's one way of doing it, how can I challenge it to make it more positive or put a different positive spin on it or something like that? So that's kind of how that's kind of what I got to say about that.
I love that. I really do. I want to kind of go back because I think a lot of times we struggle with that because we don't necessarily understand what success looks like for us. So sometimes we need to define what success looks like because then I will never understand when I get those negative thoughts. So, like, what am I talking about? If I can clearly define success for my life, then success for me is anything that moves the needle positively in the direction in which I want to go. Once I understand that, then anything that comes up in my mind that does not do that is negative, even if it's not negative to somebody else. Now, the how, I love the self-reflection piece, Garfield, because I'm with you 100%. We need to be able to self-reflect constantly. That should be a daily feat for us so that we can identify when negative self-talk happens within ourselves. If you guys listen to Coach's Corner, we gave an awesome action steps for you to be able to do that. I should be checking myself on a daily basis to understand when this thing is not working in my favor, because it's supposed to work in my favor. So once I identify those things, I start searching for what do I replace it with. I have two suggestions, and the first suggestion for me is the one I will always go to. I take those negative self thoughts, I take them, hold them captive, submit it to the Word of God, and then use the Word to overpower what that negative self talk is by replacing it with what the Word says. Or number two, I find somebody else who is more positive than me, and then I have conversations with them so I can start mirroring their mental syntax. If I can do that, then I can start adopting some of their wordology that I can use in my life, because they don't have a patent on words, not unless they have a patent on the word. So that said, first define success, then do that self-reflection piece that Garfield talked about, and then take the negative thought, hold it captive, submit it to the Word of God, or find a person that actually has the mental syntax that you need to move from where you are to where you want to be, and then start using that as well. It is a very easy but deliberate process, but it can be done. Any other thoughts before we press forward?
I just wanted to say one thing, if you don't mind, my mindset, or I think just thirdly, backing off of what Unc said, thirdly, I would use speak life in your situation with positive affirmations. I don't know how many people do that, but speak positive affirmations. Look in the mirror and say, I'm worthy, I'm capable, I'm lovable, I am loved. It might feel weird at first, but I promise you, trust me, it works. Just always saying something to yourself, and not downing yourself, but uplifting yourself. It works. Thank you.
And I want to add to what you just said, too, Bricks. not only say these things, action behind your words, right? So when you
Yes, sir.
going out there and you saying you're great, go out there and be great. Don't get up in the morning and say, I'm great, I can do all things. And then you get in your car and you cuss somebody out for cutting you off, and you give somebody else the middle finger for running through the red light, whatever it is, right? So go out there and put some action behind your words, and not just let them just be words that you just say every morning because it's the thing to do. I don't know why I said that.
And then let me say this. Hey, hold on.
But that's how it be, bro. I see these people all the time.
Hey, I was gonna be quiet. I ain't gonna be quiet. Look here.
Bruh.
Then nextly, you need to be around mindset said it, but I'm gonna get nastier. You need to be around some people that's gonna lift you up instead of tearing you down. Be around, look, and you don't have to be the smartest person, because I'm gonna tell you this. And the little soldier over there that's a New York fan. Hey, y'all are smart, intelligent men, scholars. And guess what God got me in the midst of scholars tonight?
And to piggyback off of that too, not only are they supposed to lift you up, however, you need to make sure that they're lifting you up and not just blowing smoke.
Oh my goodness.
There's some people out there, oh yeah, sis, yeah, boy, and they just blowing smoke and they leading you down the wrong path. So if somebody lifting you up, you make sure, check their credentials, make sure they are really lifting you up and not just blowing smoke.
Yes, sir, man. Just get it, and I want to say real quick, mindset, I'm gonna get to you. Just be around positive people, read positive books, because mindset got me reading a book right now. I'm looking at it like, what the world is this? But he got me reading, and I'm reading, I'm gonna get it now. I promise you I'm gonna get it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. Listen, man, if my eyes water, don't pay me no attention. These stuff got me laughing. I greatly appreciate everything that everybody's saying, man. Listen, let's keep pressing forward because time ain't slowing down for us. Principles for building self-confidence, right? So that said, what are some concepts that can inspire and reinforce a strong sense of self-confidence, and how can they be incorporated into one daily routine? You know what? I want to kind of turn that over to the consistency coach, since we're talking about a daily routine first. So let me let him stab at it first.
What are some concepts that can inspire and reinforce a strong sense of self-confidence? I'm gonna keep it real, man. Getting up and moving your body. This for me, but this is one thing. It don't work for everybody else. You got to know who you are. I am saying for some people, I have seen so many people who have maybe been on the couch their entire life and then get into some sort of health and fitness or wellness routine and grow in so many other aspects of their life. Quick story. When I was going through my purpose, I did 108 days, I think, straight of running or walking every single day, no days off. And that's when I found that vision or a big purpose, and a lot of questions were answered just because I was out there beating up that pavement every day. So one thing is to, just health and fitness right there. And how can it be incorporated? Consistency. And consistency does not necessarily mean every day, right? That is consecutively. Consistently means this. If I say that every 5 days I'm going to work out, 3 days a week I'm going to work out, then just work out 3 days a week, every week after week after week, and then you're being consistent. It don't have to be every single day. But I would just say one concept that helps inspire and reinforce a strong sense of self-confidence is fitness. So many people who have lost weight, who have gotten a body that they want, it ain't all about that, but the health, being able to get into a certain size of clothes, being able to wear a certain dress, the looks that they get, the husband more frisky with them, who knows, all these different things. I'm just saying, and how you incorporate them in your daily life, just try to get consistent with it. Work with somebody who may can help you and be consistent with it. Get a partner, all the things, so I can be on this one all day, but I got to leave some meat on the bone for everybody else. As I got that from Gaddy, or one of y'all.
Yeah, I was passing it back and forth, so I thought that, I was just waiting. One, get off these devices. sometimes you got to put the devices down, put your phone down, pick up a book. I think Miss De La Soul, Miss Me, Myself, and I, she has said journaling. I tease about the name. I don't mean any harm by it. That's how I remember it. But sometimes you got to journal, right? Don't just all the time write down the positive things about yourself. Sometimes you got to identify where you see some critiques about yourself that you need to change. So write those things down and do these things often enough to where you say, man, I see myself changing. I see myself not liking this and not liking to do that, or liking, like I'm like Uncle Junior. When I get out there and walk in the morning, I can think, because I'm, people say one with nature. I'm out here breathing. I don't have any sounds or anything but my thoughts. So I can realize, like, dang, your thoughts may be slightly a little negative. You need to read something else. You need to talk to somebody about that. And just concepts like journaling, getting outdoors more, getting off your devices, and learning how to be comfortable with being by yourself. When you do that, you learn who you are without the influence of others.
I think I'll take a stab at it, man. Piggyback off him, man. For me, I'm just gonna put it on me. I think I did a 30-day prayer and literally put it on, TikTok. 30 days, consistent. That's like Coach was saying, consistent prayer. And one of the things when I prayed, I think it was day 6, day 7. He put it in my mind. He says, if you get off TikTok and get back to the text, you'll be all right. Because I put all of my time on TikTok. Matter of fact, one Bob said, I'll go tell you, I got a reward that I said I did 1,000 hours of TikTok. Now, don't tell nobody else. I just told the whole world. What in the world? I've been on there for 1,000 hours? And then when something goes wrong, I want to go run back to him. Nope. So I've gotten to the point, hey, I'm not on there as much. We own that, but I'm not on as much because I've realized that I got to get off TikTok and get back in the text. Not only the text, the Bible, but guess what? Also reading things that's going to help me grow. I asked Mindset, I'm right here. I'm at the point. This is my point. He says, hey, man, I got another book for you. But while we're waiting on that, hey, go pick up this book. And he picked up the book, and it's called Principles. I got to get myself together. I got to get my principles lined up. If I'm in a relationship, and I'm gonna close it down. If I'm in a relationship and I don't have my principles together, and that person don't have her principles together, when you put us together, it's almost, the Bible says, the blind lead the blind, and we both shall fall in the ditch. But I got to be real with it, because guess what? In my principles, guess what? I got to learn how to walk that walk, and I got to talk that talk. Because if I'm not, ladies, here it is, I'm phony, and I'm done speaking.
Man, they came to preach and I'm scared to unmute my mic.
I did.
Yes, sir. Well, with that said, the doors of the church are now. Who got the offering? I'm joking.
Okay. By cash app.
By cash. Man, but Roland said this a few months ago, maybe a year ago, and everybody hit things, and the things that both of y'all shared that I actually had to start doing for myself, which was those affirmations. And what's funny, at that same time, there was a page on Instagram that I saw that used to do, affirmations, and I would listen to them speak, just listening to it, just to put stuff into my head. I don't listen to a lot of music no more. It's personal choice. But doing that for me, when it came to the speaking affirmation things, I'm just a big proponent of speaking affirmations that I can quantify from scripture, because I know, that thing's just gonna come back to me. If I'm keeping his word in context, I always got to say that, because my things and say just my affirmation, but won't keep the scriptures in that every day just kind of helped me change my viewpoint a little bit, and then doors started to open, things started to happen, and I stepped out, and there you go. That's it.
So again, I'm loving this, and I'm loving looking at the different messages. But I'm looking over here at Instagram, and Katana, Red Sweet Bone, they're having a party over here all by themselves, and I love it, right? Because you know, and they're right. You know, she like ain't nobody mad but the devil. You know, stuff like that. So yeah, y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I appreciate you guys for being here. I'm loving my brother Stephen Kyle. I love it when he shows up because he's always adding value in the chats. And then there was another comment a few seconds ago by another guest from, man, did it go that far up? And I greatly appreciate what, there it is. It's a pleasure to listen to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Amazing work. May God bless you always. I needed this today. Thanks for the invite. And listen, wherever you are, you're always invited back here because this is a place, a family environment where our purest desire is just to help our community grow and be better. Going back to the question, for me, I kind of want to go back to what my original thought was. When we start talking confidence or self-confidence, we always have to go back to identity. And so the concept for me is for me to be confident in who I am and what it is I do. I need to make sure that I have a clear perspective of who I am. That means I must go back to the source and have a clear perspective of who my source is, who I really am. Eddie Diaz. Okay, great. Always good to see you. Welcome. I got to go back to the source, who my source is, who my creator is, and what he said about me. That said, if I do that, that gives me a better perspective of who I am, regardless of how bad my family upbringing was or whatever I went through or anything that I experienced in my life. If I have a clear understanding of who he is and what he said about me when he created me, then that should give me confidence, trusting in him as I move forward. So now when I look at this question wholeheartedly and I come to an understanding of what concept, what are some concepts that can inspire and reinforce a strong sense of self-confidence, then first and foremost, he said, I was fearfully and wonderfully made. He said, when you go back and research, he said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, right? And then there's some other scriptures that go along. So what I need to do is I need to take those scriptures and put it in my head based upon what he said, not what, the little girl I was trying to holler at to back in the 5th grade. And I wrote her a little letter, say, do you like me yet? Check yes or check no. That what she said don't matter. That was just her own personal preference. Those are the things that we have to go along with. We got to get out of this notion of what everybody in this world is thinking. Body shaming, BBLs, whatever that looks like. All that stuff goes out the door, right? You are fearfully and wonderfully made. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how many teeth you got in the head. None of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters is what he says. And when you adopt that, when you address that, allow that to be the gateway in which you move forward and do it confidently, knowing that through his spirit, you will be successful. And I think that's really the only way that I would look at this as we move forward in conjunction with what those brothers said. Now, again, another great question. Criticism of any form is negative, but when it's constant, how do you deal with it? For the sake of time, gentlemen, I'm just going to jump on this and we're going to keep it pressing. Can we do that? Okay, good. Criticism of any form can be negative. All criticism isn't negative. There is these things called constructive criticism. If the criticism is actually telling me the truth about me, it doesn't matter how I feel about it. What I need to be able to do is actually hear the word in its authentic nature. How I feel about it just helps me to understand that I don't like it. I say it all the time. I'm kind. I'm not nice. So if you're expecting me to say nice things all the time, I promise you I would disappoint you. However, what I do tell you, I promise you, if you can hear it, it will help you in some shape, form, or fashion. So if you can hear what the other person said without any version of judgment, ask yourself, is there any evidence to what they say? If there is evidence to what they're saying, now you should be able to, and hopefully they're giving you something to build off of. Right? If there's evidence to support what they're saying, listen to it, take what they're saying to build off of and move forward. I know there is this stigma in our mind when it comes down to the word criticism. All criticism isn't bad. If it's just criticism saying you always blah, 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 and nothing to go along with it, then that is 100% criticism. There was no building in that. However, if it says, hey, I'm noticing that you're doing this, and unfortunately, that's not good for you. If you try to do this, maybe that may work better. I think from that perspective, you can see that even in the beginning, that could be considered criticism. However, it's constructive because they're trying to build you. If you view it that way, then that should help you move forward based upon criticism. Okay. Moving on to the next key point: practical strategies for positive self-talk. What are some common negative self-talk patterns, and how can we recognize and challenge them effectively?
Comparison. I think when we try to compare ourselves to other people, it's always going to go negative when you don't see yourself in that space. But instead of comparing yourself to where they are, compare yourself to where you were and continue to grow off of that and establish your platform.
I think it's simple, man. We've heard it so many times that don't try to be like everybody else because everybody else is taken. I think when you realize that it's, like I said earlier, is you versus you at the end of the day. Once you learn that and stop trying to be like everybody else, then God can use you for who He made you to be. And anytime you come out of that and try to be somebody else that you're not, then you're almost like it's almost a rejection of God. Be like, hold up, I made you this way. Why are you trying to be something else that you're not?
I think we do it subtly sometimes. Like one is when I did something good. Someone be like, you did a good job. I was like, yeah, I did that. Then I start humping myself. Because of the expectation is that I'm not going to do that good next time. So just, yeah, but, I could have did this better. Yeah, but, I couldn't always do that. Yeah, but that was my first time getting it done. And those subtle little but statements that just negates whatever it is that you are doing well are also what I believe negative self-talk. And when you notice that pattern that you downplay the things you achieve or the things you've done, the way I believe we can challenge them effectively at first is just to try to catch it. Once you realize you do it, try to catch it and cut it off. When you hear yourself getting ready to say but, just say thank you when someone compliments you, or and start asking yourself why. If I don't do it again, that maybe because I stopped working, and see where the real problem lies. Because if there's a lack in ability, maybe this is me. That's how I look at me. Maybe I just need to go back to the gym and work on it some more until I'm able to do it, or I'm able to be more consistent with it. That's how I view it.
Man, I think I just lost it when I read that. But actually, you know what? That just made me get it back. Honestly, because that was my point right there. Right there. Always or constantly or consistently having to apologize for your mistakes is a common negative self-talk pattern. And how can we recognize it? Everybody else have already given good ways to recognize things in general. So me, what I'm going to say, I'm going to go a little bit off the grid and saying, what if I can't recognize it? Well, then back to before, when someone who you trust or says something and they say, hey, look, this is what you need to do, then sometimes you just accept it and you just do it and you just try it because the way you've been doing it, it may not have been working. So I would say that right there. I think, first of all, I think one is just, I don't need to repeat it. Let's move on.
I love it. I would say, I'm sorry, Bricks, did I cut you off, bro?
No, I was thinking about wanting to say something, but if I can, I'm gonna throw it in real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Knowing your inherent worth Your value is based on what you do or what others think of you. It's based on who you are at the end of the day. Your worthy is just being you, created in God's image, and no one else is like you. And that is your superpower. When you realize who you are, because we know that in Ephesians 2:10, I got to go here. It says, "For we are God's masterpiece." When you know you're crafted by the best, you start to see yourself differently. But you got to believe in it.
I love it. I think for me, I'm just going to say it real quick. The one I really dislike this one because it really diminishes who you are, and that's the phrase of "I'm not enough." And what ends up happening is that people tend to use that all the time when things doesn't work out in their favor. They don't necessarily get what they want of the equation. I'm not enough. And so when it comes down to it again, I go back to what I said previously. You need to understand what success look like, right? And once you define what success look like, anything that you say that does not move the needle positively in your direction, that's the thing that you need to hold captive and submit it to the word. Okay. We got one more. We got time for one more question. And what I want to do is go to the community question. Let's take the first one. The role of community and support systems is the key point. And the question that we're going to go with is, how can surrounding oneself with supportive and encouraging individuals impact self-image and confidence? And what qualities should one look for in such a community?
I would like to take a stab at it real quick so I can get out the way. Positivity. Look for folks. Can I say it? Can I say it with my preacher voice? Can I say it tonight, y'all? Look for folks who will lift you up with kind words and positive vibes. That's it. That's for me. Look for people who will always pour into you instead of pulling you back. And I'm reminded. I know I love Bible. I do. It says, Paul said, he said, "I count not myself to apprehend, but this one thing, forgetting those things that are behind, I press towards the mark of the high calling which is in Jesus Christ," which simply means this: I can no longer move forward looking back. I need somebody that's going to ride or die with me all the way. I need somebody who's going to push me to greatness instead of pull me backwards. I'm done speaking.
I'll jump in. I think that with this question, you can't always look for people that's going to say what you want to hear. Sometimes somebody got to put their foot in your do nothing and tell you, get up, do what you got to do. Let's do this. And you know that they're in it with you. And that's why you do it, because you know that they care. And that's why they're doing it, not just because they want to kick you in the behind.
Yeah, I think the key word in this first part is supportive. You know what I mean? Like, and how can surrounding oneself, blah, blah, blah. I think that it impacts you in the ability that you get to grow. You get to learn from these individuals. You get to learn from some of their mistakes, some of the things that they went through. We just look at this podcast right here. You look at what happened tonight and what's been happening over the last couple of years, and how we've been able to encourage each other. We've been able to gain information from each other. We've been able to put people in contact with other people, all these different things, and I'm not saying that anybody else in here had low self-image or confidence or anything like that. But for somebody on the outside, if they was to import or input themselves into this space, someone who wasn't where we are right now, not to say that we're on, at the top of the mountain, but someone who's behind us and they're growing, if they would get inputted into this wolf pack you see right here right now, they would grow. You know what I mean? And what qualities to look for? Look for quality. Look for how people look for values. You know what I mean? Look for values in people and see if some of the values that you have and believe in, if those people match some of those same values.
Now, listen, there's no need for me to regurgitate what's already said. I agree with every last. Listen, man, y'all right. I'm with you when you're right. Bring up that question, please, because this is a key point. I think too many times what we do is we try to I have a philosophy. You can't ask for help and then define what help looks like, because if you're defining what help looks like, you never needed help to start off with. That is the worst thing that we do. We define the help that we need. No, if you need help, then be humble enough to accept help, because even if it doesn't line up with what your perspective of what that looked like going to, you might be surprised. You might get more than what you had embarked for in the beginning. So when it comes down to support, the only time, and I'm just being transparent, y'all don't get mad at me. The only time that we really understand what support really means is when it says child support. I'm just keeping it real. Other than that, we'll make it up. Support means no, it don't. No, it don't. If that person on child support ain't got no job, then they ain't paying no money. So they got to do something for them to be something. Support is support. So we really got to understand that. And I keep stressing that because I think in our mind, we have it confused. So that's the only part I want to add to that. So great question. Listen, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation tonight. But of course, this is our bittersweet moment. And this takes us to, you know what? I'm sorry. I did not let you guys know. This takes us to our final thoughts.
I would say to me the most important piece of what we talked about today was the support, was the cast around you, the community. But with that said, you know, when I listened to my brother Bricks quote Paul saying that I press towards a mark, to me the most important part in that was this one thing that I do. Then he says I press. And so when we make going after Christ, going after the Father, the thing that I do, and everything else surrounds around that, I believe he begins to give us the discernment to build our community. He puts people in place that we can walk with, we can grow with, and we can achieve anything we want to achieve as a team, as a community, as a brotherhood, as a sisterhood, as a family together, because we know that we are pressing towards the mark, and we don't have our eyes set on what we want, but it's set on what he wants for us. That's all I have. Bless.
I think whatever the issue is with the person with self-esteem issues or whatever, is whether it's internal or external, you have to put in the work to fix it because it's your issue. It's not anyone else's. So you can't depend on anyone else to help you. Now you can use people as tools to help you, whether it be a coach, whether it be a friend, whether it be whomever it is that you may deem as somebody trustworthy with your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions to help lift you up out of that place. But remember that the only person that you're in competition with is you on yesterday. And growth doesn't always feel good. So remember, no pain, no gain, and growing pains come along the way. So always strive to be a better you day by day.
I like that. Well, the title of today's podcast was How to Build Self-Confidence. So I jotted down 3 things that I think can help support with building self-confidence. And I think the first one, and it's definitely more things, you know, when you're talking about building self-confidence, there's a time, there are goals, there's a lot of different things that go into increasing or building your self-confidence. But I'm just going to talk about just 3 of them. One is to set achievable goals. The next one is to challenge some of the negative self-talk that helps create the lack of confidence. And then the last one is practice self-compassion, because as you're going through this journey to build your self-confidence, you're going to fail at some things, and there may be some goals that may not be accomplished the first time, you know, so give yourself some grace, but not an excuse.
Hey, yo, what's up, man? It's your boy Bricks in the building. Lastly, I wanted to say this, that get around folks who lift you up, not tear you down. Feed your mind with good things. Read uplifting books. Listen to inspired music. And remember what the good book says. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, with whoever is admirable, if anything is excellent and praiseworthy, think about such things. And that is Philippians 4:8. And I love y'all.
Listen, when you have 4 preachers going, there's no need for a fifth to go. So you know what? I'm going to pass on the final thoughts, and I'm just going to do admin notes for tonight. So real quick before we go, want to just remind everybody we're 1 week out from Make Money Mastery 2024. This will be a continuation. It's going to be an annual event. So this is the first one. So again, I put the link in the chat. Sign up for Make Money Mastery 2024. It is next Saturday morning at 10:30. Also, I owe you guys another link because I try to make sure that I give you guys something free every time we participate and in these conversations. So your free download link is also in the chats. So by all means, get that. Again, it's a free self-reflection questionnaire for you to continue to grow and develop yourself off of it. Last but not least, I want to also identify the fact that Tuesdays at 7 p.m. is Coach's Corner. Again, myself, the mindset coach, and that young brother in the corner, the consistency coach, the one who was cheesing when his wife showed up on the panel. I always like to point that out because I think it's cute. And listen, last but not least, man, I want to make sure that I address and shout out how much I appreciate everybody who joins us on Friday nights. So again, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on X, whether you're on LinkedIn, it doesn't really matter. I want you to understand that you are valued and always welcome. Next time, bring somebody else, bring a friend, right? Bring multiple people, because again, we want to make sure that this information gets out and spread far deep and wide so that we can continue to better our great community. That being said, have a phenomenal rest of your evening and have a fantastic weekend, and let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else.